just like the guitar, a clean guitar, you're running a 50-foot speaker cable or guitar cable, you need a buffer pedal. And it's like a clean boost is what they call it, but it's just basically to boost the signal. That could be the difference between them. Gotcha. I don't use them very often. Yeah. People tell me I should, but I don't give a fuck.
Dude, how you're talking about your knowledge of that it's very similar to how I and a lot of other like developers talk about programming. Like there's so much to know, there's too much to know as far as like all the different tools and technologies and techniques that a lot of times you're just like, well, this is the mic I use on kick drums for like the clicking sound or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or you're just like, well, this is the software library I use to do this one thing. I don't really know how it works. I use this one thing out of it, and it works really well. So, like, it's a tool in the toolkit. I can't understand everything from first principles, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of tools out there, but you got to just use them. You can't learn, like, people want to learn Photoshop 100% before they get in it and start editing. And it's like that. It's like that type of attitude. It's like you got to get your hands dirty. You're not going to know everything. You'll figure it out over time. But you got to.
The shitty part is there's people who are really smart and really good at what they do. Really smart and really good at what they do. And the thing is they like to tell people who are just starting out, the people you're talking about, they like to tell them in the audio world. They like to tell them, oh, you're a beginner. You don't need to figure out what side chaining is yet. You need to figure out what balance is. You need to figure out what this and this and your early basics are. Yeah, that's true. But it's excitement that keeps us going. Mm-hmm. And so there's a shit ton of people that I listen to on podcasts and interviews, and I respect them highly, but I don't respect the way that they treat people who just get started in this. And like
they're kind of elitist almost.
But there's also some guys that I know who are really good and are just as good as those people. They're just not in the spotlight, and they're just like, I don't talk about people like that. I don't tell people that. I don't make people to feel like they're stupid just because they're trying to figure something out that they heard about. Like, oh, I heard about this and I heard about this, and like, well, that's way later on down the road. No, it's okay. Let them get excited. Mm-hmm. Let them get excited right now. That's the whole reason why we do this. Mm-hmm. It's the only reason why it's a passion. That's the reason why we love doing it for multiple periods of time with a shit ton of fails.
Well, and there's an immense practicality to that, because once again, I'm comparing this to my experience, like, of coding and learning how to code. Like, you can't just go to the documentation and just read the documentation and learn. Like, you're gonna have to take it bite by bite of what's exciting to me and also relevant to my learning. Mm-hmm. And you have to try out projects, or like, on your side of things, like work with songs and just try and remix the same songs multiple times and try things that you won't release, but you're just working on a certain skill, or want to prove that you can work with a certain technology. I don't know, like whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. It's and it's like, it's just, man, at the end of the day, we're just trying to make something that sounds really dope, that gave us some sort of emotion, that like when you hear that first riff for the first time, that made you feel that wonderful way, that you're like, yes, that's the next part in this song. Like, we're just chasing that feeling. Mm-hmm. We're just drug addicts chasing a high, but without the drug part.
Right. Well, yeah.
But it's, I don't know. There's so many ways that we can sit here and try to like explain what it is that we're feeling during the process, but to tell you the truth, it's not big enough. It doesn't. You can try to tell somebody about it, but it's not gonna make them feel the way that you feel in that moment, when every single person's like energy and frequency is aligning with each other and everybody is making magic. I mean, I'm not going to mention what band this is, or can I say that it? there's a
What?
band I might have recorded
Oh.
recently.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna talk about it in detail on another episode, but
Okay.
we
once
did
it's
record
released,
with Mychal.
we did
recently.
record with Michael, and
But-
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
But thank you.
I'm not saying that there's very few times, because I've worked with a lot of really talented people, and there's a lot of people that I feel like most people don't give enough credit to, that I felt like were really good musicians that I recorded and like deserved more praise, but that's another story. But there's few projects that I've done, and definitely Sledge is one of them. Sledge is like,
Oh yeah.
Sledge is one of the bands that showed me what real musicians, like really
like serious, thoughtful musicians.
like, hey, we're coming to you to record, but like, check out, we already have our vision set, and it's like, we need you to help facilitate this process of getting it out to the world. That's basically what it came to. And there was a lot of technical stuff that we needed to get done. And, shout out my boy Kramer, my right-hand fucking guy. Like, he has been my right-hand dude for like all of the big projects, and it's stressful
Kramer
for me.
is a craftsman.
Yeah.
behind the keys.
Kramer is the fucking shit. Like, without him, Slamnasium wouldn't have gotten to where it was. But I had to learn that I needed to outsource at an earlier point. Like, I did everything myself for the longest, but you know what I mean? Like, once Kramer stepped in and helped and took some load off, I was able to stay creative in the most important part, because as somebody, I don't consider myself a producer. I just want to consider myself a temporary band member. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I'm not a decision maker. Like, I'm in here with you guys to understand the vision and listen to you guys talk amongst yourself about the vision, and be able to try to incorporate that as it goes into the computer. Yes, there's mics and cables and stands, and there's treatment, and there's EQs and compressors, and there's all this technical stuff like going straight into the computer, but it starts with what they're capturing first. And Sledge was one of the first bands that really, really opened my eyes to, like, it was such an amazing experience. Like, I was a fan of that band. I was moshing for that band every chance that I got. And then Kevin was like, "Hey man, we want to record some songs and stuff." And I was like, "Let's fucking go." I was like, "Let's fucking do it." And I was like, "Who's doing vocals?" And he was like, "I don't know." I was like, "Well, what are we doing?" "We're doing Gruv." I was like, "Is that it?" He's like, "Yeah, we're only doing Gruv." And then we did Gruv, never released. And then a year later, we did Gruv again. And I want to say
Yeah, there was a version of it that I was on, but
they
I don't think it ever.
a couple things.
What is
Yeah.
Gruv? What?
Gruv
It's a song.
what is the original name?
Fuck, I forgot what song it is
I
now.
don't know their fucking original. I
Isn't
just
it
know
one
them
of-
as like Deftown and Grove and like
Isn't
couple
it
others.
one of the songs now though? That's on their most recent EP.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Grove is the first song on the new EP.
Yeah, the first
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah.
Now there's a name, and the name pertains, to the music and the lyrics, but that's not what I know it by.
Right.
Like, we tried recording together in my very primitive stage of my recording and producing, and I want to say James Belial was playing bass at the time too. It was just a short period of time, but like, once it came time to do this EP, I had felt like they were just completely evolved versions of them, like, as musicians. Like, I always knew that I loved Colton's lyrics and his vocals, but until I heard them for the first time during recording, that's whenever I realized how much of a fucking gangster ass poet this motherfucker is. Like, I could read his shit like all day long. I could read.
That was definitely the vibe of our podcast with Colton as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I forgot I did.
We
listen to that.
got super philosophical. It was cool. I liked it.
It's because, man, those lyrics are so intense, and I mean,
Yeah.
you don't think about crying during moshing, but until I read the lyrics to some of the songs, from the first EP, and then that 2-song thing that they released, like, I realized how much hell one person can go through and still make it out on top, like Colton has.
Yeah.
That kicks ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the kind of shit that I love. And once it came time, like, we knocked out the instruments. It wasn't quickly, you know, we took our time. We definitely, like, we knocked out drums. It was most important part was, like, making sure that Kevin was happy with his process. And then as soon as we finished that, we stepped in and did guitar. Jacob Fay did it. And one of the things I completely respect outrageously was, even though that Eric Claxton wrote the riffs, he told Jacob Fay, he's like, I want you to record them. He goes, because some things you can play better than I can. And of course, Jacob Fay the whole time is just like, no, man, maybe you should try it. He's like, no, stop. He's like, you're going to do it. He's like, you're way better at playing this riff than I am. Just do it. He's like, no, I think you should try it. And then, you know, Claxton will grab it and do some things. But every single part was, everybody was like, who's the best person out of the band to nail this part? And they were like, automatically you're elected. So that means that they cared.
Yeah.
And to have people care like that going into the process, it's like, you don't think about it at the time, but thinking back on it, it was like, it was destined for success from the beginning because every single person was passionate about it.
Yeah, they just want they were all on the same wavelength of what they wanted the
everybody was vibing on the same frequency.
So
you know what I mean?
I feel like it's hard to find bands like that and I mean I've heard about that method a lot.
Well, you know, I recorded one just recently.
No, man. We're not talking about that. Here, okay, I want to go back to the beginning though, because, and I don't even know this myself, but you've basically bootstrapped a small business, a small studio out of your house.
Yeah.
Like, when did this all start? How did you do this?
Take us way back.
Yeah, take us back.
Or maybe it wasn't.
This is the time we need the movie intro where it's like, I don't know. I didn't know anything about recording. I was living in a small, like, bumfuck nowhere fucking town in the middle of Oklahoma.
What town?
Paul's Valley.
Paul's Valley, Oklahoma.
Yeah. Now you got to think about this in the trilateral, like, little triangle. There's Paola, Paul's Valley, and then there's Stratford. And it's like a triangle. Mm-hmm. And this is
Is it like the Bermuda Triangle, basically?
Pretty much, but except
like people go in and they don't fucking go out.
Well, you drive into this trailer park on the east side of town, and as you pull in, it's like, you know, driving into water, and it's a whole nother form of white trash.
Oh shit!
You know what I'm saying?
And is it evolved or devolved?
It's devolved. We're going down in dimensions, boys. But it was a terrible place. I was the only person out of all my friends, besides one other person, that played guitar. I was passionate about rock music, rock sounding music.
Yeah.
Everybody was listening to rap. You know, it was my teenage years. I put guitar down and, like, I just started doing hood rat shit with my friends. We were getting a shit tons of trouble, a shit ton of cop situations, and a shit ton of, like, just bad situations.
I hear that a lot from people that, like, come from small towns.
Yeah.
Especially that's like, what else are you going to do? Like, young guys, especially young men, are so reckless.
So what I did is I had met this girl named Hannah, and, you know, I was like 16. Like, my parents had just got a divorce. They split up. I'm living by myself in this town. And I had met her at this party, and we started going out. I met her sister and her sister's boyfriend. Now, her sister's boyfriend, this is the most key part. His name is Dustin Ballard. He's the guy who introduced me to the darker side of music. Like, I was strictly just a kid that only heard mainstream as a child. And then as soon as I was
like
old enough
radio rock.
Yes, and as soon as I was old enough to, like, have friends and shit, I was grouped up, clicked up, doing hood rat shit. I mean, we were constantly getting in trouble. Then, like, I had met this girl and then met, you know, her sister's boyfriend, and he had a giant case full of VHS tapes and DVDs of, like, Family Values Tour, like, Nine Inch Nails DVDs, all the Slipknot DVDs, any kind of new metal DVD, he had it. And
Nice.
I just used to go over into his room while he was at work, and I'd go through his DVDs and I'd watch every single one of them I pulled out. I'd pull out a new one every single day, and I was just learning. And he had a white Ibanez sitting in the corner. So I was like, I want to play that motherfucker one day. So I started playing, like, Enter Sandman. Like, you know, I had put guitar down for like 4 years. I never thought I was going to pick it back up again. And then I started I started learning every Slipknot song. And that's where I built the strength in my arms. And I was working at Walmart at the time, and we got this new guy working with us, this guy named Brandon. And he had a recording program on his computer. Now, we're going to go back in time and talk about old recording softwares that used to be free on these computers with like some Line 6 pedals that you could buy, like the Red Bean and stuff like that.
Oh. Yeah,
they used to have this
that.
program called Sonoma Works. I want to say.
Sonoma Works.
So basically, it's like it's the most shittiest version of a DAW ever. It's like
Shittier than a what was
it's
it?
like
Wait,
raw-
a doll?
a DAW, DAW, like a digital audio workstation.
Oh, okay.
So like,
Like
it's the
Audacity.
yeah,
I see.
yeah.
Is it like
Yeah,
Audacity,
So
or
it's
is
like-
it worse than Audacity?
It's way worse than Audacity.
Dude, I recorded my acoustic album on Audacity.
But see, at 16, or 17 probably at this time, I had done enough hood rat shit to gather some money to fucking buy a computer. I had a computer. It was the first stimulus check from Bush.
Dang.
Right.
Whoa, you got the Bush stimmy?
I got the Bush stimulus check, bro.
I didn't even know there was a Bush.
There was a
stimmy.
Bush stimulus check for $250, bro, and I was balling. I was balling.
That's sick. $250 was worth considerably
But
more.
Also,
Holy
my
shit.
rent at my house was also $250 a month. That's how shitty this house was. So I bought this computer, and my buddy showed me how to torrent.
Nice.
Hell
And
yeah.
I was off to the fucking races. I was like,
Yeah.
the world is mine. Fuck everybody.
Yes.
I was like, I'm gonna start buying stocks in fucking Pirate Bay one day if that ever becomes a thing. But that I don't think that became a thing, did it?
No.
No.
If you want to buy stock in Pirate Bay, just buy Bitcoin.
Just buy Bitcoin.
It all goes
But
back.
so basically what you did is you just put in these little MIDI beats, and it had a pre-generated drum kit. There was no changing anything. And there was like a record channel and record channel. You could only record guitars mono. You couldn't pan them. It sounded like butt. But you know what? I was recording my first butt rock, and I was excited.
That's so cool.
And there was some beats that I was able to do the halftime, the parts. So it sounded like fucking breakdowns. And I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
So like I just slowed the tempo down a lot,
Yeah.
and it made certain parts
And then
sound
made it
like breakdown.
halftime.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Okay.
So that was like how I just started like piecing it together. And then like I turned 20, and I moved to Lawton, and that's whenever I met my kid's mom, and I started meeting a lot of people over in Lawton because I was like, I gotta get out of Pauls Valley. There was too many things that were going on that were happening. If I would have stayed, I would have ended up like dead or in prison. You know what I mean? Like they say in the movies,
Yeah.
I would have died if I would have stayed there.
Yeah.
But it was just a bad situation I needed the fuck out of. So I moved to a bigger town, and I was like, yes, this is how I'm gonna start a band. I was like, I'm gonna start a band with some friends, and we're gonna write stuff like Kill Switch Engage, and it's gonna be awesome. And that's not what happened. Like I ended up like trying out for a band there. It was at the time, I can't even remember the name, but it was, if anybody just listening to this, it was pre Handguns and Debauchery days.
Oh shit.
It was before it was the band name before that. Do y'all know who I'm talking about?
I don't know who. I know who Handguns and
Hey,
Debauchery
man,
was.
I don't know if they're listeners,
is.
but I'm not trying to throw shade, but we're familiar. We played a show with them back in the day, I think.
Kramer played. Didn't
Kramer was in
Kramer.
Handguns
Really?
and Debauchery. I think Austin's just figuring this out.
Yeah, I mean, we have kind of an inside joke maybe about that band.
So I thought they were as they were just the first musicians I met, and I
Yeah,
thought they
yeah.
were like the only band that I knew of from Lawton that were doing like breakdowns. Now this is before I met the Reese, Mr. Reese's Pieces himself.
Yeah.
This is
Kevin.
before In Honor. This was a Hav Shalom days.
This is some Oklahoma history right
This
now.
is Oklahoma history.
Some
This
deep-
was Altus.
Primal.
This is
just-
Chingfest. This is
yeah, just some of the darkest places of
God. What was that
Oklahoma
hardcore
metal.
band that played there? It's like something 3 little word name or 3. Anyways, it was a band that played the show there. It's crazy fights. It's crazy fights. This is whenever I got introduced to a lot of the people I'm friends with now. Like this is back when James Mace was like listening to like deathcore, and he like introduced me to like Slam, years ago, and he doesn't even realize it. Just adding me to random shitty music, Facebook groups that were making funny memes that like he would add me to them, and like we would just like we would talk about like Oceano and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is many moons ago.
Like
And-
2011.
No,
2000.
bro, probably 2011,
2010.
late 2010.
Yeah, that's
Because
around when I met Mace.
Because my kid was born in 2010, and like we had moved back to Lawton because we had moved to Paul's Valley so my sister could help us, and then we moved back, and that's whenever I just started meeting everybody, and like started meeting all the scary people from the Oklahoma hardcore scene from Oklahoma City. Like I remember Anthony Leon beat my ass at Ching Fest one year, and then like we hung out back. I want to say it might have been No Luck, the band that was playing, but I started meeting all these people, and I remember one of the people that inspired me to get into recording music was Richard doing the In Honor EP.
Oh,
yeah.
And I remember when I went over to Richard's house to buy the In Honor EP that had came out on printed CDs. I remember I drove over there to meet Kevin, and man, that was a long time ago. And I remember seeing his setup, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. I was like, I want to do this. And then, man, I never really thought about it. Yeah, Richard was probably one of the first people to really inspire me to start recording bands and recording locally. So then from the very beginning, it became a thought process for me. It was, I don't want to do this for a business. I want to do this because these bands kick ass, and if I can learn how to make music sound good, I would be helping them out with, like, you know what I mean, making whatever they're doing sound good. And like I get to hang out with like a badass fucking band for a week.
Right.
And that was like the very primitive thought process behind it. And then it evolved.
Well, and this isn't just like, you're not just talking, like this is very, like we've seen this first and foremost, like you charge
experienced it firsthand.
much lower than you could, I think, in a lot of ways. And you've raised your prices. You've continued to raise your prices, but like you cover like a lot. You make sure the band is comfortable. Like you're genuinely in it for the love of it, and it's very obvious.
And I want it to stay that way. And everybody's telling me and asking me, like, when are you going to quit your main job? When are you going to stop painting cars and start doing this full time? Be 100%. Probably won't ever quit painting cars. I'll probably do this forever so that I can continue to treat bands differently than most producers and engineers. That's literally my whole reason for doing it. Like I was talking about earlier, I'm so sick of people who being elitist in the in the producing side of the music industry. Everybody's always bitching.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's what it seems.
I'm like, why don't y'all fucking chill? This was about music
about
at
building.
one point in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there is nothing cooler to me than to record. All right, hear me out. Record a band, record their songs. I headbang through the whole fucking process, just nod my head, just like, this is fucking sick. And then that band plays those same songs live. And it's even more powerful whenever I see a band play the song that I recorded with them live for the first time. It's a whole nother frequency. It's a whole nother feeling. It's a whole nother emotion. And knowing that you're a part of that process, but you speak about it to yourself silently. It's not something that you boast about.
Right.
That's just that's out of ego. It's more of just like, I'm literally doing all of this for just like personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's amazing because you're like the one, or you're the person like out of few that gets to hear it in both of those ways.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean that's super special and super unique, and
but
it's really cool.
I mean, I had to learn though. So the whole time that I lived in Lawton, up until it was the year that Trump got elected for the first time. I remember I had just moved to Oklahoma City, and I remember seeing all the assholes with the fucking flags. And it was that year that I moved to Oklahoma City. So whatever year that was, 4 years ago.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, 4 years ago. Oh, 4 years ago. And so we from 2011 up until that point, and I moved to Oklahoma City. I was just recording myself. There's shit tons of demos of all my early music that I hope to God never hears the light of day, just because it was all tests.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was just like test songs, test riffs, test mixing, and it sounded like ass. I fucking listen to any of it now, and I'm just like, nah. Like, I refuse to listen to my main band's first EP just because of how terrible the mix is. But I was so proud of it at the time, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Eventually, I got to the point to where it wasn't like, I think it sounds good, but it sounds like shit, to where now it's like, I think it sounds good, and it kind of sounds good. Like, it's just, that's basically what's changed. And it's just practice and just continuing. And so once I moved to Oklahoma City, started hanging out with a bunch of more people, because I still live in the same house. You know, I'm just right up the street from 89th Street. So I was able to go there a lot more often. Dakota Whiteside introduced me to Omen. And this was very early Omen. And
Way back in the day.
Way back in the day. This is back when Frosty had long hair. This is when they had a different.
Skylar was 17.
Skylar was like
18 or
he
some
still
shit.
had like one handcuff on. Like
Yeah.
like he was the most angry, scariest dude I had ever met in the pit. You know what I mean? I was just like, this dude's terrifying. And then like Dakota Whiteside was like, dude, you should check them out. And then I don't even know who I hit up first, but I finally got to the point to, after tons and tons of mixing myself and releasing my own songs, and then releasing, you know what I mean, so much music for 10 years almost, I got to the point where I was like, okay, I want to try this with another band. To where that's a whole nother comfort zone that you step out of.
Yeah.
Like, to, okay, it's not just my vision anymore. Okay, now I'm going to try to help facilitate somebody else's vision onto a recording. And that's a whole another, man, that's like changing lifestyles, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
But it's like, it's very scary, and it can
sure
be.
It's nerve-wracking. For
It was fucking nerve-wracking.
Because you've got other brains in there, too.
And none of us knew what the hell we were doing. I mean, we all had a basic idea on how to try it out and do it. And so we did it. And then I did Omen's EP, and then I did Agony's first EP. And then, like, then I just started recording my own bands. My bands started releasing more music, and I was like, okay, now I can use all of this that I've learned from these first two bands and then try it with my bands. And it's like, everything is a step process. It's like you jump up a step. Like, there is, and it doesn't matter which direction that you're jumping up. You're still jumping up, like, as long as you're going up. So
see, and we were just talking about this, well, last episode. Just like like for me, I just call it and think of it as iterations. And like, that's such a powerful mental model for me now. And no one really expressed that to me, that like, that's how you make real things in the world, is it's iterations, it's coats of paint, it's prototype, you build it, then you build a better one. It's
all part of the process.
Yeah, experimenting, and then you combine those experiments to a better version. And
how failing can be a advantage.
God, man, failing is the most important part.
And you're like failing into, and it's such a trite thing, such a cliche, like you're failing into success or whatever, but it's really true. Like, you have to be willing to go through those iterations, through those projects falling apart, House of Cards falling down. You got to go through that 100 times.
Not every band that I have recorded, you know, or worked with, not every band was a perfect situation. Like, I can sit here as a man and say that, like, there was a couple of times that there was a recording process that didn't finish. And I hate that. I hate that I didn't finish. But it got to a point to where it was out of my hands. Or there was something going on in my world around me for the first one that I needed to learn from. And it was a hard fail. It was a hard fail. I really, really wanted to work with this band. And it was basically, I jumped into the deep end of the pool before I was ready.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't ready. And I completely understand that I wasn't ready. I've had conversations with the people in the bands, you know, like there's no hard feelings at all.
Right.
We just understand that we've all grown since that point. So we're just like, dude, we're not going to hold grudges. It was something that was just like, it is what it is. And then there was another time with another band that I shouldn't have. I tried to work outside of my comfort zone, and which is okay. You can always try to push your own boundaries, you know, jump out of your comfort zone and see what you're capable of doing. But there was one situation with the band that this band was not. They were not the kind of band that I should have worked with.
Gotcha.
There was a lot of elements that they wanted in their music that was not. It was not suited for the genre. There was
gotcha.
clean singing, and they want
yeah.
ping snare, and it's like, it's not gonna work. I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying it's not going to. You can, I mean, depending on how excited you are, anything could sound awesome. But it's like, listen, bro, maybe this wasn't a great idea, and there was communication issues.
Gotcha.
And communication is always like
That
key, of course.
Definitely.
and trying to stay, communicating across the board through the process, and then hopefully you don't end up in the position where you wake up to a message from somebody from the opposite end of the planet saying, "Hey, we don't think this is working out." And I really was worried that like maybe I'm not going to recover from this, and I'm just going to stay in my bed forever underneath my blanket and just like hide from the world and never mix and record another band ever again.
Damn. Yeah.
It's like
It's hard. Your ego gets wrapped up
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
it, and like your
and your
identity.
fear and your sadness, because you fear the worst.
Mhm.
And so what happens is you fear the worst, you envision the worst, and then you start fearing the worst as if it's actually happening in the real world. And it's like, nah, bro, just pull the fucking blanket back, get up, and go in the room.
Yeah.
And the reality is,
open an
no
empty
one
session.
cares. Like at that point, like especially when your mind is like
Nobody
yelling at
cares
you.
as much as you do about your bullshit that you're going through. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
that's the 100% truth. So it's up to us to wallow in that failure or fucking learn from it.
Yeah.
Just keep moving. Yeah.
And keep moving.
Yeah.
And I think that's really all the difference is between successful people and non-successful people, is literally just the successful people understand that the failures are part of it,
Yeah.
and they're going to come, but they're working to lower that number. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Actively. Yeah.
And eventually you
Yeah.
get to the point to where your whole life is just kind of like set in a routine to where failure is not too much of an option anymore. And so when I start a process of recording a band, I don't just record bands and just get the process over as quick as possible just to get raw files into a computer. It's like, okay, then I'll build the magic. The fucking magic happens from the beginning. The magic happens during practicing before you're even in the fucking studio. That's where the magic comes from. That's where all of the magic will begin to blossom from, because it starts from the pre-production. If the songs aren't fucking great, you can't expect it to make you feel super magical. It can't make you feel super happy and super excited or sad or whatever the emotion that you're trying to portray is. It doesn't matter. It's from the process of the very beginning, making sure that the songs are good. And then once you're going into the computer, man, just do those really tiny moves to make it sound good on the way in, and you cut yourself so much hassle. And you also add so much more clarity when you're not trying to completely overprocess something, and just allow the band to speak for itself through some microphones. It's like, there's people who are like, what kind of compressors do you have? What kind of EQs do you have? And I'm like, I got a badass workhorse server computer. I was like, they can just run, a lot of CPU processing, and I have a badass fucking interface that records very clean, and I'm able to polish some stuff on the way in, and I can capture a vision from the very beginning, and that's where it begins from. It doesn't really change much from there. You're really enhancing. You're really just trying to enhance it. So the band that I might have recorded recently, that is exactly what it was like. It was like day one, we were just handing out golden chocolate bars to each other and just like, yeah, this is going to be a fucking success from the beginning, but without even realizing it. We just showed up and was just like, let's do this as comfortably as possible. Nobody needs to stress. Like, we have the house to ourselves. We got money for food, and we got a bang load of weed. Let's fucking kick it. And let's just love every part of the process.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it was like that band's music was super easy to mix, was because you guys, them as musicians, were on top of it. So there was no fear. And I don't really feel like, there might have been a little bit of nervousness, and definitely I think that Vinny was a little bit nervous, but man, he fucking killed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, like the whole process was good, you know. So that's what makes magic happen. Like when people say like, yo, how do you get that sound, man? And it's like, well, you know, it's just, it starts with the music. And they're like, no, but like, how do you get that sound,
Right.
man? It's like, dude, it starts from the process, like from the beginning. You got to love every part of it. You got to massage and love and like, just know that nobody is like, oh, I should have said no to this earlier. Honestly feel like everybody was just like, yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like what you're kind of describing is just, it starts with the music. It starts with, like you said, the practice before you were even recording.
And how long you guys practiced before y'all came in.
Yeah, and it's just, what you're describing is just people that are passionate and serious coming together. You know, like, and those are the necessary ingredients. You know, like, because if the band is all there, maybe, like, the band is well practiced, the band is practiced and serious and all that, but then the producer is just kind of like
He's just a 9-to-5er.
Yeah, exactly. Then
Yeah.
you're not gonna. It's not gonna spark. You're not gonna get that spark. Like it has to be. You have to find a producer that is
in it as much as you are.
Yeah, like you
Kramer
said,
told-
becomes a temporary member. Almost.
Kramer told me recently, he's like, I can't wait for the day. He's like, I'll be your engineer. He's like, and you're gonna be Rick Rubin. And I was like, you know, that wouldn't be too bad.
Rick Rubin is so fucking cool.
I would, dude. Rick Rubin, I know you're probably listening to this because you've listened to every other episode, but please, Mr. Rick Rubin, Strangled would love to do an EP with you. Hit me up.
I would die if Rick Rubin was listening to this.
Sylvester Stallone's listening to
Yeah.
it. That was pretty good. But
Wait, how'd you hear about the Sylvester interview? We were supposed to keep that on the DL.
oh shit, I just seen your post-it note on the wall. It's on the fridge. But I don't know. Like I was saying though, like if I could not have to be an engineer, that would be cool. You know, to be a Rick Rubin type of thing, because he facilitates the magic. Mm-hmm. But I also really love the technical side. I really love the geeky part. I really love plugins. I really love DAWs. I really love looking at waves. I really love that process too, because I mean, dude, even as a kid, my mom loves to tell the story that I used to love to take apart the family computer. Like, I used to love to take that tower apart and put it back together. Sometimes I didn't put it back together right, and we had to hire the guy down in town, the local computer guy, to put it back together. But I love the whole technical part of it. Like, I love the science behind it. Like, when you think about it, it's just waves. Mm-hmm. All music is waves.
Sound
all
waves,
music is frequency and vibration. And like, there's so many things that go into play with placing microphones and like technicality, of course.
In the room,
the
space,
the reflection, how many inches the microphones are spaced from each other. Like, speakers only move 2 directions, in and out. You know what I mean? Forward and backwards. So like, everything has to be really good on the technical side. Otherwise, the magic is gonna phase cancel itself out. So like, yeah. It starts from the beginning, like I was saying earlier, and you know, it's not like you could just jump in with this kind of vision that I have right now, you know, and think that it's just going to work. There's definitely a lot of practice of technique. There's a lot of trial and error of miking Joey. Like when I met Joey, I was recording one of his bands, and then I recorded another one of his bands, and then another one of his bands. But he got to the point to where I was hitting him up constantly. Hey, I got an interface and some microphone cables and some microphones and like a little room. I guinea pigged recording with him for a long time. I wanted to get better. The first Strangled EP, he hates me because I made him re-record that whole EP probably 4 or 5 times. And the 5th time was finally the one. Right. Because I got better and better at spacing my microphones and what microphones to use. And you know what I mean? I was just trying a whole bunch of different stuff. But I'm finally, thank you to Joey and Kramer. Those 2 guys have really helped shape. Oh, and Skylar. I mean, Skylar has been a very big part in Slamnasium. So those 3 dudes like have definitely been the biggest help with my whole my whole thing, my whole recording thing, because each one of them taught me things. And Skylar, I recorded him so many times. I tried, many different vocal chains and stuff, and then I got to the point, and it was like, Skylar just sounds good going into a good microphone. And it was like, stop fucking with shit. Get his vocals just in, and he's going to sound good with what I do afterwards.
Yeah.
So I've learned from all these people, and I'm finally at the point now to where, like, I'm living really comfortably in my studio now. And it's like, I do know what bands I can't mention right now, but there's bands that I'm going to be recording later on this year. And there's a couple of bands that I'm going to be mixing this year, and a couple that I'm already mixing right now that are like, I never once thought I would ever get to this point, to these like badass fucking people would trust me with their vision.
No, and you showed us like some of what you're working on, and like some of the people in groups, and like these are bit in their genre. These are like big players that are popular, that people are watching, and like it's and they're super talented, like crazy. Like you're talking about us, like these are musicians on a level, on 2-3 levels higher than
definitely.
any of us. You know? so like that's awesome. Like you've
I never
really
once thought that I would get to this
scraps.
point. And but the thing is I treat every project as if like I'm gonna die after I finish sending them their finals. Like I'm gonna die in a car wreck at a stoplight. Tree's gonna fall. It's gonna kill me. I'm gonna be dead. This will be my last one. Better make it fucking badass.
Yeah.
Better make it fucking
That's
awesome.
a great outlook to have, though. I think more people should try that.
But that's also, I'm also the kind of person that I may have been upset the night before, but the next morning whenever I wake up, like, it's a new day, it's a new chance, and it's a new chance to kick fucking ass in whatever you're doing. Because we just wake up, and then at night we go to sleep, and then the next day we start over. So, like, I treat it as, like, notebook. So, like, every day I'm turning a page. Every day I'm turning a page. It could be my last. It doesn't fucking matter. It's the past. Once it's over, it's done. I'm not worried too much about tomorrow. All I need to do is worry about today. And so, like, that also pertains to, like, to the recording process. Like, there's sometimes some bands that I'm recording, one member of the band that's a different instrument in the band will be like, I'm really stoked about this and this and this and this. And I'm like, me too, dude. Like, I'm really stoked. But right now, let me get these drums ready. Let me get these drums ready. We gonna knock them out. I was like, and then, then we're gonna move on to that part. I was like, but I definitely want you to continue thinking about it.
Yeah,
just being present, being focused.
Yeah,
is what you're describing.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
But there's only a few times that I've ever felt like I've ever had to say that though. Like usually a lot of the bands that I record is especially local too. Like Omen's on top of their shit. Sledge is on top of their shit. Teef are on top of their shit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Strangled's on top of their shit. Like, when we get together and, we're a bunch of dork doofuses that are just, recording slam during the process. But we've basically just gotten it down to a routine at this point. Yeah. It gets super easy for us to, like, just step in and do something really easy, really good, really clean on the way in, and it'll sound good afterwards. Because me and Joey have done this so much. Like, me and Joey have, like, recorded probably 100 songs together in the last 2 years.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, probably not that much.
Well,
That's an exaggeration.
Still, it's got to be close, I'm sure.
A lot.
Yeah.
And how many renditions, and then how many, like, retakes of songs. Yeah. Like, hey, sorry, I accidentally stopped recording on this one part. Or how many times I've popped in and told Joey, oh shit, I'm so sorry. I forgot to arm the China channel. There was no China in any one of the last 2 songs. We got to go back and re-record.
We've experienced that with just the podcast alone already. Like just certain, like maybe video is not captured or certain audio. Yeah, dude, it's all a process that you just have to keep doing over and over again.
Yeah, you take those lessons, like you take those hits, and you're just like, "Oop, yep, okay, next time."
Yeah, but I mean, that's just part of the process. You can't discredit the process,
right?
It's just, man, you've had to fucking learn. It's like there's so many times the shit goes wrong, and you're just like, "Wow, I really fucking knew better." Like I've been through this many times, and it's like I needed to go through it just one more time, and then it's gonna be burned into my brain. Maybe.
There's so much I want to like, so many thoughts that were popping up like over your story, but like one thing in particular that we talked about with Vincent is like being a student, and like I'm definitely hearing that from you, that like, well, for one, obviously you got inspiration from a number of people like in your life, but that you were also like, you were like, yo, let's get together and try something together, or like, hey, let me come over and like see your setup, let me like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And just it's like not like you're like, oh, I'm looking for a mentor, do you want to be my mentor? But it's just like you're excited, you have energy, you're in a sense participating, but you're also trying to take the lessons that you can learn from anyone that you can interact with that has any kind of similar interest.
And that's how I live my life.
Yeah, and it's just that energy that like,
I'm trying to learn as much as I can, because if I have to live this life over again and I'm reincarnated into the next one, I need to have these lessons down. I ain't trying to go through this shit again. You know what I mean? Like, I just, with everything that I do, I'm just trying to learn. And I'm always trying to learn, no matter what it is. And I love, I never thought I'd say this. I love learning. I love learning. I love learning different things. And I love, just recently, within the last 3 or 4 years, I've really, you know, me and you have had this conversation. All three of us have had this conversation in the room. That, like, science has become one of the biggest things that, like, I've been trying to learn more about. And, like, world history is something that I've been trying to learn more and more about. I just got to the point to where I felt like I was just being lied to my whole life. Or there were certain really cool things in science that I could have been learning in school, but because of the Bible Belt area that I was at, I wasn't going to learn anything cool from it.
Yeah.
The world's 3,000 years old. That's it.
Right.
It's like, I don't know what y'all think. We just been here for 3,000 years. Yeah, no. And that's, I love learning. If I'm not listening to music podcasts, I'm listening to something sciencey. You know what I mean? I'm learning something, or I'm listening to just people talk to each other, smart people, thought processes. And, you know, people don't realize, like, I feel like, you know, like, certain processes scientifically, like, also can be thought about emotionally, like, just things trying to explain each other. And it's all just basically teaching me how to become easier to my fellow human. Like, I just want to treat everybody as respectful as possible, and I just want to learn. Just want to learn and learn and learn. And it makes me better at engineering music, because, I mean, dude, there's so many podcasts I listen to where they talk about, like, yeah, like, there's a lot of psychiatry involved. Like, you piss off a singer during recording, he's not going to get any good takes. You can't sit there and tell a guy, like, dude, that was complete fucking ass. Like, let's not keep that. Like, let's do that as many times we need to until it's good. It's like, no. You tell him it was a great fucking take, and you want to get another one. You don't tear people down. You don't make people feel like shit during the process of getting something magical out. Like, that's like blowing up a rocket during its exit out of, you know, the Earth's atmosphere. It's like, what was the point then? You know what I mean? It was supposed to get all the way out there, and you killed it before it had a chance. Momentum. Yeah, you just destroying it on its way out. You don't do that to people. And there's so many times, like, I've seen like these videos of, like, Ross Robinson, like, throwing shit at Slipknot during, you know, recording, and it's like, it was entertaining to watch. I'd never fucking do it. It was really fucking entertaining, you know.
Hey, but you know, maybe there's something to that, you know, like there's people like you, there's people on your side of the spectrum that are like, hey, let's have good vibes, good time, let's make magic happen, make love, golden candy bars. But then maybe you need,
there's a band that needs it.
Yeah, like the coach that's really
But
hard
it's
or
up
something
to
like
me
that.
to see those red flags from
Right,
the beginning.
right.
No, I mean I like your approach better, but you know I think there's like
Look,
something to
if
the
the
Maybe he
band-
had to match
tough
the
love.
vibe of Slipknot. Maybe they were giving
Yeah.
giving him.
I
The
mean, think
attitude
about
first.
well, yeah, you know they're
Nine
all
dudes setting
tough.
themselves on fire, bringing piss and shit to
Yeah.
interviews,
and like jumping off of high rises and breaking their ankles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a tough enough. He's got to match their like energy. And
But like you
buck
said,
up.
I
Yeah.
do completely respect it. I mean, I respect that's what it took to get the Magic recorded like that. I mean, think about it. Slipknot was revolutionary
Which album was? Do you
First
remember? Okay, that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. I mean, that's
because before they were still Slipknot, but they had that album Make Feed Kill Repeat. It was like it was the same songs that came out on the self-titled, but they were different recordings and they sounded like shit. And I was like, damn, this is like a grind version of Slipknot, except not so badass grind. Because I love grind. But yeah, I guess that's just what it took for them to get the Magic. So, I mean, if a band comes to me and they're those kind of people, a lot of times people who just need somebody to beat the shit out of them in order to get the Magic out, there's usually like drugs and alcohol involved. So that's definitely not something I would allow into my house, considering if I had like a studio, I'd probably still not allow it. But like, it's just, there's too much fear of like, you know, I ain't trying to have them break shit.
Yeah, liability shit.
Exactly. And like insurance stuff. And like, say if I'm renting equipment to use it, I never want to rent equipment because I'm always worried that like I'm going to break it. So it's like if I had some people like that inside the studio where they needed somebody to beat their ass to get the Magic out, it's just not for me.
Yeah, seems more like a hassle.
I ain't got to tell Josh and Jacob a damn thing. They kick each other's ass during recording. Like, I love recording vocalists that like give the performance during the recording. That makes sense. I mean, you're one of those people. Colton is one of those people. Skylar is one of those people he uses a mic stand, you know? And I'm always like, bro, why don't you just take it off? He said, no, I want to use the mic stand. And he kills it. And then I have people like, you know, Colton and you and Josh and Jacob that like give the full in performance. I don't turn around. My back is turned to them. We're by ourselves in the room and they have the whole space behind me to move if they need to move. It's all part of getting that out. And if, you know, they throw themselves around and they throw themselves down and, you know, they do whatever they need to do. They need to get that emotion of whatever lyrics it was that they wrote in that moment. They got to get it out. Sometimes it pulls demons and not like literally, but you know what I mean? It just pulls the evil and darkness out of yourself. And sometimes people need the space and
air it out.
but they're scared to do that in real big fancy studios.
Yeah.
Like where it's really expensive and like an $18,000 microphone in front of them.
I resonate with that for sure.
I would love to have a big expensive studio, but it's like, it's not the kind of magic that I'm looking to make. Like my house setup is the setup that it needs to be. It's like, that's how I help bands get the magic out.
In a perfect world, do you think you would ever have like a studio, but it would just be in a second house if you could afford it ever?
It would be.
Have you ever thought about that?
It would be a one big house. Yeah. One wing of the house would be like cool studio room, live room.
Yeah.
That like the walls that separates it can lift up, and then it becomes one big music venue.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
Make that happen.
Yeah. Was the feeling right before you pass out in OD. So, in a way, we love how abrasive and abstract abrasive music is. So there's just something we conditioned ourselves. We wanted something different at a certain point, and I feel like that birthed rock and roll in its early forms with blues and like old blues musicians and, you know, the old African American musicians with the Muddy Shoals era.
Yeah,
you know?
and that was very dark music.
It was very dark music. Yeah. I mean, there's even like, you know, there's people in the metaphysical world that talk about, you know, blues guitarists and, you know, they talk about their deals with the devil. Like there's like, it's very it is it tickles the butthole of evil. But at the same time, it's like it's like playing with fire. I don't know how to explain it.
No,
in its true form, it was meant to sound evil and dark and, very, very different from, soft and sweet and gospel music that was, that was taking over, the entire music market. When music recording first became a thing, a lot of the things that they were recording were a lot of gospel songs over and over again. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is like, is a perfect, idea to think about when they went in and record that song. I mean, gospel music they were tired of hearing it. They were wanting something new, something more energetic.
And more real, more authentic to the human experience.
Because real life isn't all fucking rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
These unicorns actually breathe fire, and their urine is acid. And it's like, life isn't as beautiful and perfect as it looks. Yeah. And people got to the point to where they wanted to feel the more realness, and that's where I feel like rock and roll really came from. And then like it evolved. It evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. Now we have bands like epicardiectomy and embryectomy and analepsy
and Sanguizigo Bob
and Sanguizigo Bob. And like you have ridiculous trash can sounding snares, really gunshot pointy kick drums, chinas and bells and hi-hats,
pig squeals.
That's why I love epicardiectomy. People are like, oh my god, I can't believe the drummer has no toms, and it's like he just removed them out of the picture because it didn't fit the music. I fucking respect that.
If you don't use them,
you don't need them. You don't need them. He has a tiny 10-inch snare and a shit ton of bells, splashes, chinas, and hi-hats, and a kick, and that's it. Damn. And a snare, and like that's all you need. And I respect it. And it's like it's super abrasive. People, I don't know, man. I just love really abrasive music with a bad mix. It's not even really that the mix is bad. It's just that's the way it needed to sound.
Well, yeah, and it's like your band Strangled is like you even openly describe. You use words like ignorant or like lowbrow or knuckle dragger.
Yeah.
Or just like that there's
it's that real caveman shit.
Yeah, like you're bringing in darkness, but you're also bringing in like an intentional type of stupidity.
So
or
it's
simplicity.
Party music. That's what it is. Like I want to write riffs that you can mosh to, but you could also play in a strip club. You know what I'm saying? like I want to write party music. And I love party music, and like I would think that like if the movie Project X was a real thing, they'd have been blasting, you know what I mean, Circumvent from Strangled over the PA during the party. You know what I mean? It's every riff I write has a purpose. It's to make you feel like it's party time. And
but party time in a very
in the ignorant sense.
Yeah.
And like that is, I feel like that's the name of the genre, ignorant. You know what I mean? It's more than just slam. There's no rules. There's no, oh my God, you need to have this verse, and then it needs to lead into a pre-chorus, and it's like, fuck that. Give me a blast until it's time to slash on that hi-hat. Just blah, blah, blah. Let's go in a double bass with a ping. And it's like, it became a point to where there's so much slam in the world that like, some of it can be terrible, yeah, but it makes it more beautiful. Like, Disconformity and like Gorvent and all the Japanese bands, I love them because of their quality of their mix, and I think it sounds exactly the way it's supposed to. A lot of the Indonesian bands, like that's another dream of mine. Like I want to mix an Indonesian slam band. Like those, dude, they have it figured out. Somebody gave them the secret formula to slam because this shit is fucking perfect.
I think that like kind of what you're describing when you talk about slam too, it's similar to trap, where trap is like a reversion.
Listen, slam is gangster rap.
Okay,
and nobody can tell me anything different.
Sorry. Let me backpedal that. I guess it's just a similar sentiment in that it's like a degradation from like quality where you're purposely trying to simplify things.
Yeah.
To like make a statement that's supposedly supposed to be more cool than if you tried hard.
It just like the what's his name, the ancient Stoic said, you ain't cool unless you piss your pants. Like, it's like
That's probably I don't know, trying to
Socrates. That's who
Cicero.
Plato.
You ain't cool unless you piss your pants.
No,
But
that sounds like a cynicism philosophy to me.
It's like people. It's a group of people making a style of music saying, "Fuck your pop music. We're gonna make the complete opposite." And then it became a point to where we had heard that enough. Then it just became like, "Hey, this is actually like kind of sick. Let's just keep going." And like,
Yeah, you develop
just
a
a
taste
crazy-
for it.
exactly,
and then
you
that
develop a taste for it.
Evolves and
Next thing you know, you're putting Sriracha on top of like crazy riffs and like there's some stuff that is crazy wild. I think I might have showed y'all Bio Noise Generator. Like there is no repetition. It's just like part after part after part after part that like has no time signature, doesn't really have a tempo, and it's like I love it. I don't know what it is about it. Early Car Bomb stuff, like real crazy mathy stuff. Like there's just
Or even like Sleep, like Josh Eberlein Sleep, and like that's a particular type of zone that people get into. That's like, it's not hard what you're playing, but it's hard that it's a 50-minute song and you all are like staying in the same vibe.
Well, that's why I
together
write
and,
Slam. That shit's like minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then you're in, you're out. It's tactical. It's meant to make you move. Let's go ahead and move on to the next song. I've just got to the point to where I started cutting fat from songs, and they became way shorter. Like, man, you really don't have to have all the filler. You know, some genres, the filler is a big part of it because maybe there's a lyrical part that like really means something, but it's like I'm just trying to come in like a fucking tank,
Right.
with like steamroller for hands, with like a twisted metal clown head sticking out the top. Like it's got to be ridiculously ignorant. You know, you think about the crazy artwork in Slam. Like I definitely don't agree with all the misogynistic parts of like, you know, certain metal genres. I definitely get it. So I wouldn't give them praise. But like, you know, there's some really good Slam out there, but like some stuff like gets really dark. Some stuff gets really dark and it's like, yeah. You know, I don't really listen to those kinds of bands, but there's a lot of really good shit Slam out there that fucking kicks ass.
So what would be do you have a top 3 list of
bands or genre?
Your favorite Slam bands, like in your opinion,
Fuck,
or is
bro.
that too hard of a question?
I mean, it'd like make me choose 3 out of 10 of my toes. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly how that works.
We're gonna do that.
I mean,
Man. We were talking about Hustle earlier.
Oh, dude.
Get ready.
Oh, my God, no.
Let's say 2 big ones, and I'll keep it pinky.
All right, so right now, probably one of the biggest Slam bands that I'm into, for sure. Digging Up from Indonesia. Fire as fuck.
Digging Up. I'm into that name. That's a sick name.
It's fire. My homie's band, Anal Stab Wound, that shit is fire. He did all the instruments.
Anal Stab Wound.
He's 15 too.
Yeah, the drummer is 15, and
he is a fire ass drummer. This
Yeah.
kid is he's gonna be fucking famous one day.
Weren't you saying he works with like
John Huber,
huge like musicians already?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
already
yeah.
just
Yeah, his
paving
band
his
Anal
way.
Stab Wound has
Yo,
like
shouts out to Anal Stab Wound.
For
shout
real.
out to Anal Stab Wound. Let's see. Okay, so Anal Stab Wound would be a band I've been listening to. Digging Up is another band I've been listening to. Man, a lot of stuff I've been listening to lately are Slam bands that I'm mixing. Like I'm doing a band called Casket Leakage that's fire. Another band I'm doing is Vile Impregnation, which is fire. It's got a dude in the Slam world from Cephalotrypsy, Angel Ochoa. Like, I never thought I'd be sitting at my computer and I'd be mixing a song that would have like somebody that I've listened to so many times, like on a guest spot.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so cool and awesome to me. So I've been listening to those and probably Cerebral Incubation. I listen to them I mean, I got the shirt on, bro. It says OG Caveman Slam on the back, but I'll show you later.
Nice.
It's like Cerebral Incubation is probably one of my top 3 for sure.
Okay.
Forever. But man, I don't know, man. It's like I said, trying to pick 3 out of 10 of my toes.
No, yeah, I mean that those are a lot of cool names.
Yeah, that's.
I'm
that's
enlightened.
Cool.
I mean,
Digging
you
Up's
enlightened.
really cool. I think you'd like them.
Cool.
Check them out.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
They did a split recently.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dip my toes in a slam much, but I can appreciate. I mean, I don't know. I can appreciate all types of metal just because I've played the music so much. I've heard the sound so much. It's like
I mean, well,
I
you
just
think
have
about it.
so much reference.
I feel like even if you weren't listening to Slam all the time, I think that I was really comfortable showing you guys some really ignorant ass Slam.
Oh no, and
It's
I love to
because-
hear it.
And it's because
Yeah.
it was like I knew that y'all guys would probably appreciate it because the Tooth isn't really a band that you listen to at prom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Or mini.
But
pub-
we will
mini
play your
pub-
prom.
Or
But we
many
will.
public. Yeah, that's the thing. You won't hear us ever in public places, but we will play any public place you want us to play for pretty much free.
yo,
Yeah, we're just not
Scissortail
asked.
Park has that new stage.
Oh, we could play there.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I've thought about having
be-
Soto Slam Fest at the Scissortail Park because it's open.
That would be
You
insane.
know what I mean? Rather than
That would
having
be
everybody
sick.
inside. You know what I mean? But it's like, man, if out there in the sun in the middle of June might be too much.
Yeah, that would be a little bit too Oklahoma. I think.
Do it in
Yeah.
March.
It would be a mud pit.
We're gonna do it in winter.
Everyone's got coats and
Everybody's got
ice
those big-
skating
and
across.
Tim's.
It's either going to be 70 degrees or there's going to be ice. So
Yeah. What are the other? It's Oklahoma. We'll figure it out. But no, I knew that showing you guys some some abstract art Slam, y'all guys would get it because the Tooth isn't very friendly with tempos and
Right,
consistent 4/4 and
yeah.
that's why I love the Tooth. I feel like the Tooth is one of the bands that are it wasn't really, I don't know if it was really a thought process for you guys from the very beginning to be yeah, we're not going to sound like anything pop, anything cool or anything normal. It's just, it needs to be chaotic and beautiful. I mean, that's the only really way to think about it. There was a band I recorded recently that the last song on their EP was a pretty fucking epic one. And it's the whole first 3 songs of this EP were very punishing. And the 4th song was very punishing. And the way that it ends is so... You wouldn't think, listening to a lot of y'all guys' older stuff, I guess, except for some parts, you know what I mean? Of y'all guys' old albums. But, it's... Y'all guys are amazing musicians to, write something so chaotic into something so beautiful.
Well, appreciate it.
Well, we can never live up to your compliment.
I'm going to give y'all guys that Soto Grammy. I'm going to have my own Grammys. It's going to call the
Slam
Slammies.
Grammy. The
Slam-
Slammy.
Slammies. It's called the Slammies.
Please give me my Slammy.
What was the thing
Oh,
on
man,
the
I would
Office?
love a slammy.
What was the Office? What were those things
Oh,
called?
fuck. What were they called?
They used to have at the
Office?
restaurant, remember?
A
A Dundee?
Dundee.
Dundee?
The
So-
Slam
Yeah.
Dundies.
You're going to have it at the Soto Slam
At the
Fest?
at Slam Fest.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's cool.
Slam Fest would be awesome to fucking do again, but who knows?
So you were talking about drawing inspiration from science a little bit earlier, and we've had some some pretty cosmic conversations, and
We've had some conversations during recording where we're like, we gotta stop.
Yeah.
We gotta get this
Yeah.
in the podcast. We gotta stop right here. Everybody chill.
yeah, but I mean, I just listening to your whole entire story, I relate to it so much, and I already wanted to say this, I think it's interesting. All 3 of us probably have very similar starting stories of how we just got excited about a certain sound
Processes. We probably had the same kind of processes.
Yeah, and that there was key people that came along that we got inspired by, but eventually you kind of zero. At first, it starts very general. I want to be in a band. I want to go to shows, or I just want to be a part of this general scene.
Yeah.
And then you get more and more specific, and for you, it's you zeroed in on this music producer side, very specifically, and you have a unique balance with your job and your studio. And me, I've gone on a weird circular journey where I'm like, now somehow this energy and inspiration from music is leading me into coding and like being an engineer and other stuff in Bitcoin and like Josh, producing this podcast and working on beats and playing in multiple bands and just like, I don't know, like you never know where these things are going to manifest because it's going to be something specific, but it's like every person, like you have your own kind of inclinations. Like I could never be a producer, but I'm so glad that you were able to like figure out the pathway to get there. And I don't know. So generally, I just think that's so cool to see these similar patterns across all these different people that I know and we talk to.
It's allowing yourself to be humble enough to be inspired by everything.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was kind of
not
leading
being
into
too
with
humble
that.
to where you're one of those like really weird people. You know, those people that's oh no, I'm not good enough at anything. It's like I was there at one point in time, but I had to like dude chill. Let's get some work done.
Yeah,
like, let's do some things.
Yeah, it's a very Eastern kind of way to approach it all.
Yeah,
and we've touched on that too with that same like I think just last episode too. Like,
and it's man, I feel like Eastern practice, you know what I mean, and like things like Buddhism and stuff like and teachings and stuff like that. It's basically just the way to live kind of thing. It's really I'm not a religious person, nor do I like believe in certain things, but I believe that there was like it's just a golden rule kind of thing. It's just morals kind of thing of like treating everybody equally and treating everybody with respect and not allow other people to feel like you're overpowering them because it's not your place and it's not anybody else's place to overpower you. And capitalism has fucking like tried to change those rules into like certain people have the right to be overpowering other people, and it's like we're all just supposed to just live. And we're all supposed to just do something that makes us passionate. And we're all just supposed to pursue something in our own way, no matter what it is. For some people, and that's the thing. And it's allowing yourself, allowing other people to do it respectfully, whatever they're doing, and not allow yourself to make anybody else feel stupid for something they're pursuing, kind of thing. So I love meeting people and learning about what they're doing with whatever they're doing in their lives. I'm one of those people that drive down the road and see somebody on the side of the street, and my brain automatically goes to, I wonder what they're doing today. I wonder if they're about to hit the gas station.
I wonder what they know. I wonder what they've been through.
I wonder what they've been through. I wonder why there's two other people in the car with them. I wonder where they're headed. I wonder if they're headed to do something really cool. I wonder if they're going to a funeral. And it's like I'm also one of those dumb people in the world that I feel like it's dumb, I guess, but a lot of times when somebody is shitty and cuts you off in traffic, I'm one of those people that are just like, I really hope they had something really fucking important they were going to.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good perspective.
Just giving more people the benefit of the doubt. And it's
or not allowing everyday people to control like
your emotions.
Yeah.
With like
Control
accidentally bumping shoulders with somebody on your way into the 7-Eleven while they're on their way out. And you're just like, man, fuck that guy. And then you get in your car, like, well, fuck everything. And then it's like, then it's just a whole ball
Snowball.
of negativity. Yeah. And it's not needed. Not needed.
Well, and like you were saying earlier, I mean, music is just waves, just vibrations. And
it's just push and pull.
Yeah, and I think, it's super woo-woo, but I think that there's I think that we really feel vibrations in a way more sensitive way, like our consciousness.
And a physical way.
How we communicate, how we see each other's faces, how we kind of relate to each other's emotions and have theory of mind for how the other person is feeling. Like, we just have such a deep history of connecting with each other and connecting with the world and being conscious. And kind of just what you're describing is just an openness, a curiosity, and a humility for nature that, like, damn, we're on this crazy-ass ride. I don't quite know how this thing works, but
I'm going to take it a day at a time.
Yeah, I'm going to take it a day at a time. I have respect for the vibrations I'm putting out, for I don't know what wakes
And I always got to be conscious that my mood and my emotions that I'm going through will affect the others and the people around me. And if I'm not careful, if I'm in a negative mindset or mind state, I could accidentally be mean to somebody who it was really fucking uncalled for. And things like that, keep me up at night. But like, it's trying to catch yourself before you unnecessarily accidentally hurt somebody else, and I feel like it's just part of being a more conscious being, just being a more conscious person, trying to, eyeing your surroundings and paying attention to the things that are around you and the things that are going on around you and the way that you are and your mood and your tone and the way that you're talking and what you say and how you ask somebody a question is done respectfully.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that don't even fucking care about any of that. And they're just like, what the fuck's up? And like, how's the fucking going? And like, I heard your mom died. And it's like, it was unnecessary, dude. It's
Right.
like, it's not how you approach people. It's like, there's people out there that just don't care about the other people around them.
I think in our modern communication is producing a lot of that as well. A lot more of that that's been before. People are kind of
But I feel
deranged.
like we're not giving enough credit to the people that are out there actually making a change and doing things differently, like us. You know what I mean? Like, we treat people more equal, and it's not something that you see all the time because of, it's just not what's sexy on the little black box in the living room. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not what's cool to society nowadays because everybody likes drama and everybody like being in each other's business and like exploiting people's personal lives. And it's like, people are people.
Yeah. And they're never going to stop being people.
And they're never going to stop being people. And you're a fucking person too.
Yeah.
See, and like, I'm out here, I'm trying to connect with people that are curious, that are building, that are open. And like, that's what I'm trying to do. And that are positive. And I'm not trying to ignore the negative things in the world. In fact, I'm trying to take responsibility for them in the unique way that I can. But it's also like, hey, I'm here with a positive attitude, rational optimist, and like, I'm trying to connect with other people like that. And that's a part of what this podcast is. That's a part of the desire to play music.
And I definitely don't think any of this is boring.
Oh, I'm glad.
Good, yeah.
And like that, what we're trying to fight is exactly, I think, the boring flow that a lot of people are stuck in. Is really like a negative, critical, self-critical, like bleak kind of doomer outlook on the world.
And it's completely controllable too.
I mean, a lot of the people that change their outlook from feeling that way, though, like a lot of people who dive into things, that are a lot more woo-woo and metaphysical according to society. And a lot of those people that like take it upon themselves and to learn things about spirituality and like chakras and aligning, and it's like I was saying with music, is all vibration, push and pull. I mean, so are emotions. I mean, emotions are, electrical signals in certain parts of your body causing a reaction. And it's like, we're all just people.
Yeah.
But
we're antennas.
We're antennas. And I don't know. I forgot what I was even talking about. I told you it was going to happen if I smoked weed.
It happens to us all the time.
But
No, that's cool, man.
what were we talking about?
I'm loving it. We're talking about, I don't know, positive vibes.
Positive. Oh
Crazy
yeah.
woo-woo shit,
That's
man.
what I was talking about.
Lining
People-
your chakras.
So people who take and there is, I mean, dude, there's radicals in everything.
Yeah.
There's radicals in every
That will never
religion,
change.
that like completely manipulate things. And there's probably, people like that in the metaphysical world, but it's like, man, it really is, a lot of it is science. And then it gets to a certain point to where we can't explain in science. And like, I feel like certain like really, really ancient things like, Buddhism and stuff like that, we're trying to explain things to us, like on how we can connect with ourselves. You know what I mean? And it's all just, people are trying to fix their broken selves. Some people are trying to fix their broken selves, a broken thinking that has been like burned and hurt by society, from like, you're not good enough, and you need to do better, and you need to do better, and you're not good enough right now. People got tired of feeling that way and started looking within themselves and trying to learn more about the human consciousness. And like, I love that stuff. And I feel like, I wasn't always this way that I am right now. I'm 32. I've definitely had a lot of transitions of personality, and I've been through a lot of friend groups, and I've lived with a lot of friends, and I've buried a fuck ton of friends. And, I've had to say goodbye to a lot of people's consciousness within my day that like, it really hurts. And I try to find myself, and a lot of those things on the woo woo side, it turned me into a better person.
Yeah. And
a lot of people who I feel like really all it takes is just learning a little bit about it, and then you get the idea behind it, and then you're able to apply it within your life. And, whether it's woo-woo or not, I am out here doing something that I love, and I'm able to do it. This is my version of success. Yeah, I'm not making ridiculous money. No, I'm not making a bunch of money from recording. If recording was all about money to me, it wouldn't be as fulfilling. It would be a job. I got a job. I got a job that can pay my bills and pay my rent and buy us food and buy me weed and, buy me gear sometimes. But like, music is just producing and engineering and mixing and mastering is just, man, that's the icing on the cake. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the fun part of my passion, because I'm very passionate about being a husband and being a father, and I am passionate about being a painter. But man, we can all say as musicians, like, music does something to us that we can't explain.
Well, it's deeply embedded in us, and you're talking about all of this Eastern philosophy, for example, and I think that whatever religion or philosophy or belief you have, I think there's truth in all of these, especially the ones that lasted long, as long as they have. And it's like the religion or the practice around it is almost the dressing. It's the narrative or story that helps transport it across time. And so it's the dressing, the costume of it isn't the truth. The truth is what you can find through practicing it. And for me, like, meditation has been a huge part of my journey the last 3 years. And one of the most prominent things I've noticed from meditation is that my brain produces music constantly.
Hell yeah.
When you start to notice your thoughts, like, my riffs emerge out of my subconscious every day, and songs and acoustic songs. And like, there are very specific things for me that.
Do you just hear the sound? Is there a visual behind it?
Is there what?
Is there a visual behind it?
No, it's usually sounds and words.
See,
so
for
it's
me,
sounds and lyrics.
For me, it's visualization with the sound. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of songs that have started for me where I'm sitting in the middle of the day, and I pictured myself holding my guitar, playing my guitar rig, and whatever riff I was playing in that moment, or. I mean, it sounds woo-woo too, but like, I've had dreams before where there was riffs, and I ended up turning those riffs into songs. And
I've actually the exact same thing. Like, I've had dreams where I've played stuff.
Now that
and it
is
just felt so real.
That's your subconscious affecting reality.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But then it's the reality that you expose.
It's a magic shit.
It's the reality you expose yourself to in the first place that creates that subconscious that can then produce new ideas. And like, that's just what I've realized is like, okay, there's music is deeply embedded in me. It's when it comes out of me, it feels natural. It feels magical. I don't need to explain that. It's just that will always be a part of me. Maybe not. But as long as it comes out and I enjoy it, it will be a part of me. And like, I don't know, just a simple realization as that is. But yeah, I mean, just echoing what you're saying, that the fruits of getting into these, self-reflective practices are great.
Imagine if those AIs that y'all were talking about on that podcast tried to write a slam song.
Dude, no, I mean, you're really not ready for the quality of slam that AI is going to be able to make.
Say. But are they going to unedit the drums? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing.
Make the drums sound
here's the thing. Here's the thing is that it's the highest, because you could imagine, okay, I could, you and me, Michael, we could collaborate. Let's try and make a program that, you know, produces good slam songs. And we could collaborate and just like think of like a really solid formula for doing it. But at the end of the day, what would really come to make that great is your specific knowledge, my specific knowledge, stuff that can't be taught, stuff that can't be put into words or put into code. And that's where that's where the AI isn't coming close to us anytime soon. Like there's a high level of creativity at the peak of the pyramid that we embody that we don't even understand it yet.
It's because I feel like it has a grid, and I feel like human consciousness works off grid. You know what I mean? Like there is
off our grid of understanding.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. I do think that we'll eventually reach a point to where, I mean, like Neuralink and stuff like that. But like at the same time, like I don't feel like a CPU can and I don't mean that as in like a general CPU. I mean like even a, you know, like a smart, crazy AI computer will never be able to give us the dirtiness. They'll never be able to give us that grind and that abrasive. It's gonna sound fire, but it's probably gonna be too perfect.
Be polished, cut perfectly, like everything. Yeah,
like you just followed a list of okay, it's got to have this, and this, and it's like formulas don't work that great like that.
It's there would always be something missing, and that's kind of where we are with that stuff. It seems like to me, but nonetheless, I echo and yell to everyone: do not underestimate it.
Let me ask: do you think there's anything missing in music these days?
Missing in music,
or do you feel like music is having a revolution of feelings again?
I just think that we haven't utilized technology with music enough. Like we're very, very early with doing that. I think there's I think you see early parts of this with these strange montages that people make, or very specific vibe videos or whatever. You know, I think that eventually music is going to combine with many of these other mediums, and there will be crazy VR music experiences that are much more intense and that can communicate with a higher throughput, just a higher bandwidth of emotion or vibration.
We did see a lot of bands doing unique, like streaming, like bigger bands, especially in the metal scene. And
what do you think the future of music is?
The future of music?
Like the cantina from Star Wars. Talking about the cantina band.
Yeah. I've often wondered that if like, well, and I really think it's going to be unique to see what happens to metal in like 50 years, 40. Like what happens when we're old? Like old as fuck, and it's like
there's no way to know. It's like we were talking about earlier with quantum science. That's just theory with another theory with another theory with another theory. Is the same way I think about with the evolution of heavy music. It's just mitosis of genres. Of genres coming together, splitting, coming together and splitting, and coming together and splitting, and people are taking a bunch of elements from a bunch of different genres, and that's literally like what music has been. And that's like when you think about like the birth of slam, like at one point in time it was like OG slam, and then it became true slam, and then it became like the new wave of slam, and then like it became a thing called slamcore, and then it became and it's all just different renditions, and it's like. It's crazy to think there's no way for us to have any fucking idea of what the possibility of slam's evolution in the next 10 years is going to be like.
Or any genre.
And who knows? What if bands like the bands that I'm starting and my friends and my bands who also have other slam bands are starting, what if we accidentally become the next rendition of slam in the next 5 years?
Right.
Or the next 5 years, like... What if the sound that we just call shit slam right now, because it's like so low IQ, low quality slam, but what if that ends up becoming the evolution in 5 years? We really don't know, and that's cool.
I want us to like analyze this episode and see how many times the word slam has been said.
I think everybody should have to take a shot,
either a shot or a hit of your joint or something.
Slam.
Okay, wait.
Eat an edible every time.
Sorry, Josh. To answer your question, though, I do have a real answer. You're asking, like, what does the future music look like? I mean, an idea that I've thought about a lot as just someone that thinks a lot about software and internet is I want to see when we can have asynchronous live music collaboration over the internet on demand, like Zoom. And I even imagine, so we have stuff like...
Okay, so that is already a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
With what?
So a new program called Audio Movers. There's a couple of more new programs through the pandemic, and man, I really don't want this to sound like wrong at all, but like during the pandemic, we've actually people have like fixed some issues with the world.
Yeah.
And one of the things, in the music world,
I don't think enough people are talking about that. Sorry,
I don't think
didn't
enough
cut you
people are
off,
talking
but
about it
it's
at
an
all.
important thing
But
to bring
there's a
up,
lot of
for
really
sure.
important things that have changed throughout this
Yeah.
pandemic that I think is actually, people are like, oh, the world is never going to be the same. And it's like, good.
Yeah.
There's
for
a lot of things that
fucking real.
we fix, it's about fucking time people figured out that you don't need to
Yeah.
go into a college facility to go through the college courses. And they've made it a lot more open for some people to do it at home. But like, one of some really great things in the music world is, people have developed an ability they have fixed the issue of latency. I have no fucking idea how you can fix the issue of latency from opposite sides of the planet or just in opposite parts of the planet to begin with. But they said they have fixed it. And it all starts with, I think, it's a process. So maybe it's like this. I don't know. But if you put the drummer on a click and the drummer is playing to a backing track, by the time everybody else gets to the track gets to everybody else, they're hearing it in real time.
So you can just perfectly account for the latency.
But it takes one person in the band maybe to be the timekeeper. And by the time everybody gets it, then it's, you know what I mean? Like Vinny would be playing along to the music in his headphones but wouldn't hear any of y'all. And y'all would just be playing to his signal.
Gotcha.
So it's just a little tiny, like really simple thing, but it's like that made a loophole, like in a jump though. But like, go back to what you're saying.
Where I saw this coming to its end, and that's awesome to hear. I had heard previously, like an even earlier version of this is like almost like a DJ, like you play together, like make a song together type of like little apps and games. But where I see this going, you have some stuff like Rocksmith on Steam, or it's like you can hook up a real guitar in your computer and play along with the software and learn songs. And, I want to see like live global matchmaking, for you're randomly meeting up with other musicians and you're live playing asynchronously over the computer. And you imagine how kids grind video games, and grind match after match. They're going to be playing instruments and collaborating with other people and learning with other people across the internet, hearing new sounds, and just, I think that's just the first. That's what I can only imagine at this moment. But I think from there, you bring that into VR, you bring other arts and mediums into that, and it becomes a whole new experience we can't even imagine.
I think one of the new waves, that is really going to take over. I really hope so, because I want to go on record and say I want to mix the first Slam album, 5.1
in space.
Well, no, not in space, but
Sorry.
in 5.1 surround.
Yeah.
So one of the most amazing things ever was I was in a movie theater just not recently, but it was a couple months ago. I don't remember which movie it was I went to go see, but it was a Travis Scott music video mixed for the theater. And it was mixed in the surround format. And it was sick. Like,
I can
there was
imagine.
elements of the mix and the song that were playing in certain corners. Wow. And I started thinking about this, and my brain has been going off and on and on and on. So I've been thinking about how I can mix the first Slam album in 5.1, but I need the setup.
Yeah.
The people listening to it would need to have a setup.
Dude, you need to have a theater, too. Well, I mean, and this reminds me of EDM. Like, one big thing with EDM and why people love it is the live aspect, where they have these huge stages and there's the lights and of course everyone's on drugs, and the pounding beat and how you feel it. But like, you imagine going into a dark theater with just lights and listening to 5.1 slam.
Bro.
I mean, that would be an experience.
I've already thought about the painting of cymbals, like in the 5.1s. Like, like I've already thought about guitars where the vocals are gonna sit. Dude, I've thought about like vocals in front of you, and then then you get the stereo vocals behind you.
Yeah,
and it's like it becomes like a trifecta of sound, like a triangle, one directly in front of you, two behind you, of vocals for one big epic part. Like, I've been wanting to do this for so long, but I don't have the way to like mix anything in 5.1. I don't know shit about it. I just know that it's certain placement, and I've seen videos. You're basically using an algorithm that is a cube, and you just set things and within that cube, forward and back, up and down, just basic 3D, and you just spatially put things. And I want to try it, but I don't know how heavy I can compress stuff and like what it's gonna sound like afterwards. And that's another thing I think is the future is 5.1 music.
That's crazy. I didn't even think about that they like to program that. They literally have a virtual 3D space that they're like, okay, we're going to have input, output source here and here and here, and we're going to balance
speaker systems are from the $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000 range for the basic package.
Fuck.
$100,000 to $200,000. I'm pretty sure like the Amphion setup is like $120,000. That's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, man.
Just for me to record some shit slam from Indonesia. You know what I'm saying?
Digging up. Let's do it.
Yeah.
1.1.
Yeah.
Hit up my boy Michael once he gets 6 figures.
One of these days. Yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire from Slam.
That would be fucking badass.
I mean, that'd be cool. But
hey, anything's possible in the future.
Yeah.
Who knows what the real addressable market of Slam is in the world? It could be, a million people, 10 million people in the world.
My fear, of
50?
course, is people are going to end up trying to use slam parts for pop songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
it always
really know if
happens
that's ever
somehow.
gonna
It
be
always somehow happens.
Like,
the
there's going to be
K-pop,
some gutturals
some
in
kind of
K-pop.
music. Yeah.
I don't know. But, there'll still be us slam elitists out there like, no, it sounds better when it's low IQ, knuckle dragon, caveman shit. Like,
What if Baby Metal releases a slam?
I mean,
slam
Baby Metal
song?
got them riffs, though.
They do.
They have a badass drummer.
They do.
Yeah,
a
Baby
badass
Metal was sick.
Baby Metal is sick. You have anything coming up?
I want to give a shout out to Ray Ray and Big Steve from barbecue joint down the street from my house, coming in clutch. That fire ass chicken and that lemonade is fucking amazing.
Hell yeah.
And the China house down the street, fire. I want to thank the Wave Dispensary for all the times they hooked me up with weed whenever I had bands over, and we just got really, really stoned and made magic.
Did we smoke some of the Wave Dispensary?
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Swisher Sweet.
Hey, if you're trying to sponsor a podcast, hit us up.
Shit, if Swisher Sweet is trying to sponsor a producer, I'm your boy. I got stacks of them sticks.
Honestly,
We've
your
seen
desk could be a Swisher ad.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So
I hate when people are like, "Oh man, you smoke around your equipment." Shut the fuck up. That's why I bought it. It's like, man, it's a studio. We gonna smoke. Oh shit, what about alcohol? Hell to the no.
yeah.
We don't do
got
alcohol.
standards out here, man.
Yeah, we got standards out here. And I
Weed's
got to worry about
classy, bro.
weed spilling into my interface and burning it up. You know what I
There
mean?
you go.
Or falling onto a speaker.
On the keyboard or some shit.
Exactly.
Sticky keyboard.
Weed just smoke. But yeah. All right. Serious note. I do want to thank like the bands that have given me a chance to just work on their magic. Like, I'm completely forever grateful for it, and I love listening to an album that I did with a band and feeling all those memories all over again. That's why I always want to finish one, But like, Sledge, Omen, The Tooth, and Agony, and my bands, like, and my local friends' bands that I've all done, Zero Ophthalmia, like, everybody has helped me get to the point to where I am now, and I'm completely indebted. Everybody to allow me to make some mistakes on their stuff and learn from it, and everybody end up with something that they love, of course, in the end. And probably biggest shout out to Kramer for being my right hand dude. Big shout out for Joey for allowing me to record him so many fucking times. big shout out to Skylar, to coming to me to record all of his projects. Because when Skylar ends up replacing James Hetfield in Metallica, like I'm gonna be like, bro, you got to get me in. Like, let's get some shit recorded. I'm trying to see that budget from the label. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, nobody knows this yet, but Skylar is gonna be the new vocalist for Metallica.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna be the shit.
2030.
Metallica money. But really, and the Tooth, you guys have really showed me what it's like to do a badass session that kicked ass the whole fucking way. It was so easy. So easy.
You were super easy to work with too.
And that's how I want to be. I want to be easy to work with and everybody just to enjoy. But it's really not all about me. It's all about the bands that I've worked with. Because it doesn't mean, it means a lot to me, but it doesn't mean everything to me. You know what I mean? Like how well an album does with a band, like it does matter. It does matter, but it's not everything to me because I don't want to allow it to cloud the magic. And it's like, I would totally do 10 more albums with the Tooth. I would totally do 10 more albums with Sledge and Omen. You know what I mean? Like, I'm probably going to do 10 more albums with Strangle and Aberrant Construct. And all my other bands. Shout out to Cook and Crank with Uncle Fester. This is my grind band. Shout out to Frosty the Snowman, Lil PP Main, Whisper Main, and Big Verb. And yeah, that's about it.
We're thankful for you, Mychal.
Yeah, thank you for coming on,
for
dude.
you guys.
Thanks for being on.
Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.